All right. So the plan this morning is to walk through each unit. Okay. Hitting the major topics or some of the tricks and tips. We're going to look at the 3 FRQs that are in the 2014 thing as well. So ask questions as we're going. If there's a topic that you need us to stop on, please let me know. If there's a question on the practice test itself that you need help with, take a picture of it and tweet it at me. That way I can pull it up on my computer and see it. Yes, we're going to go over balance sheets. All right. So we're going to talk about them, and then we're going to look at the FRQ on it as well. Okay. So if you have the questions in front of you, if you look at question number 1, it's a good place to start. A very fine place to start at the very beginning. Do, re, mi. All right. So question 1 says, which of the following is the most fundamental issue of economics? It's the reason we even have the course, which is why. Yeah, we have scarce resources, right? The idea that no matter what, you're always wanting more. Okay, if I gave you $1 million and offered you the additional $1, you would take my additional $1, right? If I offered you a Tocote burrito and you already had one, you're still going to take the Tocote burrito, right? Thanks for not bringing me one. All right. So, but there's it's a scarce resource, yeah. But there's a limited amount of resources to fulfill all of our wants and needs. So it's scarcity. All right. So don't forget that. It's very simple. All right. It's the most basic. It was the first vocabulary. I think we talked about it on day 1, not even like day 1 of lecture, like the first day of class after I handed out the syllabus. We talked about scarcity. All right. So, so make sure you sign in. If you need a practice exam, pick one up. Tweet questions. Ask questions. We are on YouTube, so that's kind of scary for me and you, I guess, all at the same time. All right. Yes, Michelle, we're still in the library.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Where do we sign in at?
Over on the bookshelf.
We'll see him too.
All right. We're live right now. Yes, it's on me. Unless you come up here and like wave at me. No, it's not on you. The public on YouTube. So whoever wants to watch it. All right, we're going to get started here in just a second. Going. My kids are starting to show up en masse. Yes, it's on me. All right, if there's a certain topic you want us to cover, Zach's already asked for balance sheets. Somebody else asked for Forex. Jessica wants shifting aggregate supply, aggregate demand.
Oh, that's comparative and absolute advantage.
We're going to go over that here in just a minute. All right, anything else? Got one of those. What? Yeah, we're going to look at MPS, MPC, and the multipliers. Okay. If you want to flip through the practice questions, the test I gave you, and like circle certain ones, that's fine. We can talk about those as well. If you need to, you can drag chairs over here, or you can sit behind me. You might end up on YouTube that way.
I'll sit right here.
Okay, that's fine. You can, don't do that. Don't make me nervous. No, don't do that.
I can be this shoulder, and Jacob can be the other shoulder.
They're seeing double. Yeah, double.
Remember aggregates.
Yeah. Or drag a table over.
Because the librarian planned on like having people sit behind.
Yeah. We're in the library. Stop yelling.
Me and Bailey need to hold this stuff.
I know. Thank you. So, what, Bailey? I know. All right. So let's start at the very beginning here. So we have PPC curve. Yes. What other board?
She's asking to draw one, I think.
I have 2 whiteboards. Do you want one? No, I didn't bring the whole set. You can go grab them if you want. On the, you know where I keep them? In that bookshelf? They're in that white tub. Okay. It should have markers and everything in them. That means I get an eraser now. Yes. All right. All right. So first graph we talked about covers the very basics. All right. Comparative absolute advantage can be used to find this, or we can find comparative absolute advantage when we have 2 of these, or one showing 2 economies on it. All right. So our production possibilities curve shows any 2 products being produced in an economy. All right. In general, we use capital and consumer goods. Yep. If I'm inside the line, what does that mean?
You're under.
Recession.
I'm in a recession or I'm inefficient. Yes. All right. If I'm outside the line, it's impossible for that economy to produce. Can we consume outside the line, though? Yes. How?
By over-consuming.
Using comparative advantage in trade. All right. If I'm on the line, what does that mean?
You are equilibrium.
You're perfect.
I'm efficient. That means aggregate supply, aggregate demand, long run equilibrium. Find that on the Phillips curve as well. I'm at the natural rate of unemployment. All of those things mean the same thing, right? All right. So we kind of talked about it already before most of you showed up. Most basic problem of economics is scarcity. Somebody tell me, what is it?
Not enough resources for everybody.
Right. Not enough resources for everybody. Right. Y'all all want endless amounts of stuff. Okay. If you don't have a practice exam, you might want one, or at least someone at your table to have one. So when we look at the FRQs here in a minute, you know what we're looking at. All right. So I can guarantee you there's going to be a question on opportunity cost or scarcity, defining it. Okay. If you look at the practice exam, it's the first question asked. Okay. Right out of the chute. Okay. I will also warn you, the questions get harder as you go through the exam. They start off easy. They're like getting you warmed up, and then by the end, you're going to be mind-numbing.
They start out giving you.
Yes. Well, they're easy for you because those are the ones that I've only ever picked for my exams in here, so you're used to them. All right. I like to torture you. Okay. So, on multiple choice questions, look at them at mini FRQs. Draw a graph, shift the curve, answer the question, and move on. Don't overanalyze it. Jacob. All right. So. All right. So after we talked about production possibilities curve, the first thing we talked about was then comparative and absolute advantage. Okay. So to look at comparative and absolute advantage, we have 2 countries that are trading. They produce 2 items, right? Okay. They might give you these numbers in a chart or on a production possibilities curve with like a little word problem below, and then ask you to find certain things. What is step 1 before you even read the question? What are we going to do? Thank you, Haley. What does that mean? So we want to interpret food in mouth.
Write the numbers down.
Yeah, we're going to set up our T-charts. Okay. So I'm not guaranteeing my numbers are going to play nice, but we're going to make up 2 countries. Countries A and B. Real original, I know. So let's say country A can produce 20 widgets and 60 gadgets. Okay. Country B can produce 40 widgets and 80 gadgets. All right. Find who has comparative and absolute advantage. Go. Yeah. Do I want anything from Whataburger? I like food.
You gotta get for the whole class.
Taquitos are nice with picante sauce, sausage and cheese. That's right. She better get his breakfast running late.
She's not. She's at Whataburger. She's not gonna be here for another hour.
Yeah.
It took me.
It's at Whataburger. It's not Whataburger. That's Whataburger.
That's why I was like,
All right. So, do the math. Quincy, if you need to drag a chair.
Wait, give me a change.
Yeah. Sitting out there, my 4 and 8 little. Come on, dude.
If you need help and you don't want to listen to me, if you would rather watch a video, I just tweeted out a video on Comparative Aptitude Advantage. It has my daughter in it.
I thought you were gonna say you tweeted out the link to the live. You can watch the live stream about watching.
You could do that as well. I did that at 8.
are we live?
Yeah, we are live. It's about 10 seconds behind. It's kind of creepy.
Are you watching yourself?
I every now and then to see if there's like a comment. All right, I'm gonna do the math with you to check. Number I made up. All right, we have country A and B. They make widgets and gadgets. Okay.
Wait. Oh, you said 60. I thought you said 16.
Yes, because I would make you do that kind of math.
I mean, it reduces.
For you.
What is this, Spain?
All right. Before you leave today, guys, make sure you sign in. All right, there's a sheet for each period. I don't care if you do it now or on our way out. 60 and 20 and 60, and then 40 and 80. Over on the bookshelf. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. I'm doing the math right now.
It's not that long. Right, and then you circle. Yeah.
All right, so did y'all get it? Everybody remember how to do these now? Okay, we'll do another one. Okay, so let's talk about what the chart is showing. Okay, because doing the math is one thing, but knowing what you're looking at will help you answer any question that they could ask on multiple choice and or FRQ. I doubt it's an FRQ. If it is, do a little happy dance because it's easy. All right, I hope I get to grade that one too because it'd be easy to grade. Speed those things up. All right, so what we're showing is that a country at full on a production possibilities curve, they can make widgets and gadgets. Okay, they can make 20 widgets and then therefore 0 gadgets, or 60 gadgets and therefore 0 widgets. Right? Those are their two extremes. Right? We want to know what it costs to make one so we can have comparative advantage. Okay? So to make one widget, 20 divided by 20 is 1. 60 divided by 20 would give you 3. Okay, so for every widget that country A makes, they give up the ability to make 3 gadgets. Oh, it's supposed to be widget. Okay. 10 minutes in, I've already made a mistake. All right, got that out of the way. All right. So for every widget I make, I give up the ability to produce 3 gadgets. Okay. All right. So therefore, if I make a gadget, I can't make a third of a widget. Okay, apparently it's much more productive to make widgets. All right, country B reduces down to one widget costs 2 gadgets, or 1 gadget is half of a widget. Okay, apparently we're in the world of the Jetsons and we make sprockets and gadgets. We're Stanley Sprocket.
Oh, I get it.
All right, what is absolute advantage? Who makes more? Okay, so who has absolute advantage in either or both of these products? B, right? They make more. 40 is larger than 20, 80 is larger than 60. All right, that's easy. Yeah, absolute advantage, you're looking at who makes more. Comparative advantage is who makes more for less, who has lower opportunity costs, who gives up less.
Down to where they like.
Yeah, we're going to get to trade. Okay, so to find comparative advantage, it's who gives up less. No, just me.
Can they hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. The whole one person watching, yeah. It's awesome.
Is it really? Is it for real?
It's Austin. Oh, no, no, there's one other person besides you.
That's awesome.
All right, so who gives up less?
For what?
For widgets. B.
Seven,
Right?
seven, four,
That's why we.
78, 12. 817 774 7812.
I don't know what that is. All right. So, and then 1/3 is less than 1/2. And so A would make gadgets. So,
Wait till the camera clicks in.
of course. All right. So, all right. So if we are going to specialize in trade, that's who's making what. Okay. Now, let's say terms of trade, they specialize in trade. Let's say the terms of the trade are 1 widget for 4 gadgets. 1 widget for 4 gadgets is the trade offer. 1 widget for 4 gadgets. Who benefits from this trade? Look at it. Wait a minute. Work it through. I got to work it through too. I haven't figured it out either.
So no.
Well, somebody's going to benefit from it not being in between, but somebody will be happy. So who's unhappy? Who can do better on their own? So they don't want it. Who can't do? Who the trade is better for who? Good job. All right. Does A like the trade? Why not? A is making what?
1/3.
A gadget, right? So on their own, when they don't produce a gadget, they can make 1/3 of a widget. Okay. In the trade, they give up that gadget because they traded it. They gain 1/4 of a widget. Do they do better on their own or in the trade? On their own. 1/3 is larger than 1/4. They tell the trade to go away. All right. Does B like the trade? Mute me. I don't want to hear myself 10 seconds later. All right. Does B like the trade? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's a minute behind. Okay. B likes the trade. Okay. All right. Through the trade, B picks up 4 gadgets. On their own, they would only pick up 2. 4 is larger than 2, so they obviously are going to benefit. So B would like it, A would not.
So you always compare this to the comparative.
All right.
Compare this to the comparative.
Yes. All right. So find a term of trade that they would agree to. Okay. So in the trade, okay, we're gonna look at what they're making and compare what they would receive to what they do on their own. Okay, so B on their own makes widgets because they have the comparative advantage from widgets, right? Okay, in the trade, when they don't produce a widget, they give it up, they would gain 4 gadgets. On their own, when they stop producing the widget, they gain 2. 4 is larger than 2.
So you're trying to see like if you trade
Do you
with this
make-
country, what you get back.
Is it
so, like-
larger than what you can do on your own?
So like if you trade with this one, you trade 1 gadget and you get a 4th back, whereas you could have a 3rd already.
Right. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I just thought it was like, I don't know. That
Okay.
makes sense. That
All
makes
right.
sense.
What's a term of trade that they both agree to?
It's not 1 to 1.
No, it is not 1 to 1. It is 1 to 1.5. No, it's not. No, it's not. No. Close though.
Would it be 2.1 to 2.5?
It is 1 to 2.5. Okay. Easy way to find it, guys. Here's the easy way to find it. That first one that you reduce down to that had the whole numbers, where you have 1 widget to 3 gadgets, 1 widget to 2 gadgets. For both sides to agree, the 1 to whatever trade, the 1 gadget, the 1 widget to how many gadgets would be acceptable to both, that number needs to be in between what the 2 countries can do on their own.
Okay, that's actually really easy.
Okay? So you can sit there and play guess and check like Haley was trying to do. Or
I got it.
you know the trick. Okay? So A is 1 to 3, B is 1 to 2 in widgets to gadgets. So an acceptable trade to B for both would be 1 to 2.5 because it's in between. Actually, it'd be 1 to 2 point anything. 2.01 would be happy if you did the math all the way out. So 2.5 is easy because it's in between both. All right. Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's in the practice test, let's see if there's a question we can answer. Yes. 47. All right. Flip to 47.
Have we taken this?
No, you have not taken this. I just handed it out yesterday. All right. Flip to 47. Let's look at it. I'm going to pull up my cheat sheet on my iPad, too. All right. 47 says, assume that country A exports 1 bushel of wheat in exchange for 2.5 bushels of corn from country B. If the terms of trade are beneficial to both countries, which of the following must be true? All right. Right? Think about what we just talked about. Okay? That for it to be beneficial for both, the 1 to whatever would have to be in between both, right? Okay? So we know that country A exports bushels of wheat. They're the ones making the bushels of wheat. Okay? So the terms of trade of 2.5 means that on their own they do less than 2 because 2.5 is greater than, all right? So they're going to want something that's produced more than what they can do on their own. Does that make sense? It makes sense in my head. Does it make sense in yours? Ellie's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Wait, so that's like, that's
Okay.
not the same one.
That's like saying,
Could you just show us how to set it up on the teacher?
all right, so we're saying that country A, if the terms of trade are 2.1 to 2.5, okay, country A is the one that is making the bushels, right? Okay, it says that they're exporting the bushels, so they're making the bushels. The terms of trade need to be better than what they can do on their own. Okay, so if the terms of trade are 1 to 2.5, they have to be able to produce more or less than 2.5 on their own.
For the A.
Less. Okay, it would be B. All right, which means that country B would produce greater than or less than 2.5. Greater than. They would need to be at least 3. Okay. Look, my example lined up with the question exactly. Miracles happen. All right. So don't miss those questions. Okay, that was a harder one. Usually they're a little easier than that. All right. So I'm not going to guarantee you there's going to be an FRQ on those. I don't think there will be. But I can guarantee you there'll be at least 1 to 2 multiple choice on comparative and absolute advantage. Okay? Each question is worth the point. The hard ones are the easy ones. Grab the easy points. Okay? Put them in your pocket and move on. All right? Are we good? All right.
You're on the stream, problem.
The camera's shooting back there so you can wave at the world.
Yeah.
And they run away. That's all right. You want to know if you're still on? Let's see. You're pretty good, maybe. I don't know.
Can't see,
I can't see.
Distracts you?
It's about a minute. Yeah, I just distracted to watch myself.
Just watch yourself.
All right. So next thing, 48. Which of the following is true of the opportunity cost of holding cash? If you're holding cash, that leads into what we're talking about next. What are your options that you have with money? Spend or save. Okay? So if you're holding cash, you're really doing neither, right? Okay, I'm holding the cash. I'm neither spending it nor saving it. Okay? We're going to assume that you may spend it later. All right. If I'm not saving it, what am I giving up?
Interest.
Interest rates. I could be getting an interest rate.
What about inflation?
If you're saving it, or if you weren't spending it, you'd be saving it.
Right. Yes.
It wouldn't be that because price levels went up. The opportunity cost would go up.
Yes.
So what was the answer?
E. By holding on to cash, you're not getting back greater returns in the future. So you're giving up the ability to have more money
If D had
as
said,
interest rates rise.
if D had said it increases, if price level increases, that would have been right. Because
No,
if
D. Okay, D says it decreases as the price level rises. You're not. That's a cost. You're not giving up a cost. You only give up benefits.
I thought it would have been B.
It's represented by the value of the dollar. It's still a dollar whether it's in the bank or in your hand. Okay. All right. Are we good? Does that make sense? 48. It's the interest rate. You're giving up the interest rate. Marginal propensity to consume and save. We're going to get to that in a minute. Or a little bit later. All right. So from talking about comparative and absolute advantage, we jumped into banking. Okay. And the idea that you can spend and save. And we looked at balance sheets. We talked about the bear farm. The fact that we're going to start a business delivering bears all over the country with drones. All right. Flying above orphanages to feed the bears. Jacob, that's kind of creepy. All right. Might be profitable, but might be creepy. Okay.
And then we looked up.
Yeah, we're doing balance sheets right now. Yeah. In fact,
do they kind of like do pictures after we already answered the FRQ?
we'll talk about that after. All right. In the packet, flip to the back page. Look at FRQ number 2. Okay. Number 2. I want FRQ. I didn't say the back of the back page. I just said the back page.
Page 10.
All right, y'all need to be quiet so that people in the back can hear, because I only have so much voice left. I'm getting tired. Yeah, exactly. All right, so looking at the balance sheet on there, all right, you have assets and liabilities. It's a balance sheet, so the two sides together have to equal each other. All right, they have to equal, all right? Or if you're like looking at it as pluses and minuses, and for accounting purposes, it's 0, okay? But they have to equal each other. All right, so this bank has assets of reserves and loans, all right? And they total up to $240 million. Everybody see that? Okay. They have liabilities, all right? Meaning that it's money that they owe other people of deposits of $200 million and net worth or owner's equity of $40 million. Okay. When we're answering questions on balance sheets, do we need to worry about owner's equity all that much, if at all? Not really. Okay, the big thing is demand deposits on that side. Okay. No, I mean, yes, yes. All right. So, all right, they tell you that the required reserve ratio is 20% or 0.2. All right. They have 80 million in reserves. Of that 80 million, how much of it is required reserve? How much of it is excess reserves? Zach, don't answer. We already went over this morning. Okay. They have 200 million in demand deposits. Required reserve is 20%. How much of their 80 million is required reserves? How much of it is excess reserves? Do what? You don't need 20% of 80. How did you get that? Yeah, I know. All right, to find it, you look at your demand deposits and you multiply it by 20%, right? So, my erasure is a 4. All right, 200 times 0.2, right? Okay. Gives you 40 because you carry the decimal over 1. Okay. Do not let simple math defeat you.
What was it asked?
I asked how much of the 80 million is required reserves and how much is excess reserves. 40 of it is required reserves, so how much of it is excess? 40. Good job. All right. Luckily, there's nobody watching, so you're not. They will later. All right. All right. So they have 80 million in reserves. Okay. They have $200 million in deposits. They have to hold on to 20% of that 200 million. They have to hold on to $40 million. That is the required reserves. So they have 40 million in excess reserves. What can they do with those excess reserves? They can loan it out. Okay, so I can give out loans.
The reserve on the asset side is the excess reserve?
No, it's just reserve total.
All right, so if you wanted to break down the balance sheet more, okay, you have 80 million in reserves. You could say required reserves 40 million, excess reserves 40 million, loans 160. It still adds up to 240. The 40 what? I just asked what was the required reserve rate. What was the required reserves? Right, but it's also excess reserves because it's 80 million. It's half of 80 million. Okay, so question A. Guys, I've got to be quiet so everybody can hear. All right, question A asks, calculate the maximum amount by which this bank, Zenith Bank, can increase its loans. That's what remains of the reserves. You can't loan out demand deposits. You can only loan out excess reserves.
Is it 40?
So it'd be 40. All right. They hold on to 40 in required reserves. They have another 40 in excess reserves that they can loan out. If they loaned out all 40, how much would be in their loans? 200, because they have 160. They would loan out another 40. The loans would therefore go up by that amount and make it 200. All right. Okay. All right. All right.
The required reserve is 40 million, right? And they only have 80 million.
All right. So they had 80 million in reserves.
So you got
What's the required reserve?
20%.
I know.
How much that banks have to hold on to?
No, but what's the number?
0.2. It says at the top of the problem.
40 million and 200.
Chris.
40 million.
Chris, What are you asking?
How much money?
40
million.
20% of 200.
Will's got it.
Okay. All right. So these two right here add up to this. So they could show on the balance sheet these two things or this. So the
I'm going to get.
it would be excess. If this had been 100, excess would have been 60. We're getting there. All right, quiet down. Next part. What? My eraser. I have one, but I forget about it. All right, let's look at B. All right, is everybody comfortable with A? Does that make sense? A, everybody comfortable with A? Finding, all right, they could have given you required reserves of 40, demand deposits of 200. What is the required reserve ratio? All right, you would put required reserves over demand deposits, reduce it to a fraction, and get 2/10, which would be 0.2. If they are going to ask to find, if they're going to find the required reserve ratio, they have to give you A, the required reserves, and B, the demand deposits. All right, make it a fraction, reduce, and make it a percentage. Yes, required reserves or demand deposits. All right, B. No, it's asking. It's asking for that bank, not all banks, just that bank. How much can that bank increase its loans? Yeah. Now, Jacob, on B, we're going to go to bigger. All right. So let's look at B. Based on our answer in A, which was 40 million, calculate the maximum possible increase in Everland's money supply. Okay, so now we're going to do multiple deposit expansion. Okay, so a couple ways to do this. I'm going to talk through the correct long way to do it, and then we'll talk about when and if you can use the shortcut. Okay, so stay quiet. All right, long way. We know that they loaned out 40 million, right? Okay, was the original change. We need the money multiplier, which is 1 over the required reserve ratio, okay, which would be 1 over 0.2. They gave that number to you, all right? That is 5, okay? 1 over 0.2 is 5. Just memorize that, okay? That you could also look at it as 1 over 2 over 10, which would reduce to 1 over 1/5, and then flip it to 5. Okay, don't do that. All right, just memorize 1 over 0.2 is 5. Nobody can math without a calculator. All righty. We're going to have some fun today. All right, so this is what we know, right? Okay. All right. How much will the money supply increase by? 5 times 40 million. Good God, did you bring like all of Whataburger?
Yes.
What is that?
Sweet tea.
Oh, nice. All right, so it would increase by how much? 200. How did you get that?
5 times 40.
5 times 40. All right, you take your multiplier and you multiply it by the change. Okay? That's the maximum possible change.
If it was like they bought this many bonds, then you would add the original.
C gets into that. This question's really good because it kind of just lets us walk through the whole thing.
Is that the answer? 200?
Yes, the answer is 200.
Is the times 40 the required reserves, or is it because it's the
It's a maximum possible change in the money supply. So you would add the initial deposit back in, whether it was the Federal Reserve or an individual. Anyways,
No, I'm just trying to check because the numbers are the same for the required reserves and the increase in.
She's asking me if you multiply it by the reserves.
oh, the required reserves. You multiply it. No. You multiply it by the change in loans, which would be your excess reserves.
Okay, so if the number had been like 24 practices and 60 for.
It would have been 5 times 60, 300. Make sense? Okay. All right. So real quick, the reason that we could cheat and just do multiplier times the amount is because it asks for a change in money supply. All right. Which means that it doesn't matter if Will was taking out the loan and depositing it back in or the Federal Reserve. All right. Either way, you're going to add in the initial change. So you could go through the steps of finding out how much would go into required reserves and excess reserves of the 40 million, multiply that, and then add it back in. Or since it's a change in money supply and you're going to add it back in anyways, thank you, Melissa. All right, you can just cheat and do the quick math. Okay. Now, if they had asked for a change in the amount of new loans, that's different. Okay, as we'll look at and see. Okay. All right, we're going to walk through it. All right, so C, look at C. Identify one reason that actually it's part D that we'll look at the math again. C is a good question too. All right, identify one reason that the money supply would reduce by something smaller than the $200 million. Okay, people can hold on to cash or no, we're close. They don't loan it all out. It's excess reserves. Do they have to loan out all excess reserves? No, they can hold on to it. Okay? So you have two options, two possible answers there. A, Will held on to some of his cash. All right. B, Zenith Bank decided not to loan out all of their loans every time. 200. All right. Yes, the bank does not have to loan out all required reserves. Now, if banks are for profit, when they decide not to give out a loan, they are giving up the potential to make profit off of loans of the interest rate. So we could talk about why they would do that, or you can just say, we got it. We got it. Okay. It gets into, that's macro 2.0, and we're doing 1. All right. So are we good? All right, let's look at D. Assume the central bank of Everland purchases $10 million in government securities from the public. If the public deposits $10 million into Zenith Bank, by how much will Zenith Bank's required reserves change as a result of the new deposit? All right, that's a lot of information. Okay, all they're wanting to know is that there was a $10 million deposit into the bank. How much do the required reserves change with the required reserve ratio of 0.2? 2 million. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and make it a little harder. Okay. That was too easy. Okay. So what happened? Yeah, somebody, all right, the central bank bought bonds. They took bonds off the market, put cash onto the market. They didn't buy it from a bank. They bought it from Jacob. All right, Jacob had $10 million laying around. All right, so, okay, he had $10 million worth of bonds. He didn't have cash. He had bonds worth $10 million. Okay, so the Federal Reserve comes up to him and takes his bonds away and hands him cash. He's smart, so he deposited it into the bank so that Zach can't steal it because that's Zach. All right, yeah, I would steal it too. All right, so Jacob puts it in the bank. All right, the bank then has to put some of it in required reserves, some in excess reserves. All right, 20% of the 10 million goes in required, 80% would go into excess. So how much went into required? 2 million. That's what the question is asking. That's it. All right, now I'm going to ask, with Jacob's new deposit, what will be the maximum change amount in new loans? It is different when it's an individual, which is why I'm asking it.
Is it 42 times 5?
All right. So,
Where's sort of voice coming
Mr. Mullen, if it's like
Let's walk through it.
Is it 210?
Okay, so Jacob deposits the $10 million. $2 million goes into required reserves. $8 million goes into excess reserves. How much can they loan out? 8. Okay, so the maximum change in new loans through the system would be 8 times 5. All right, 8 times 5, your money multiplier. All right, so the max amount of new loans created would be 40 million. Okay, now I could ask from there, what is the maximum change in the money supply? Still 40 because the Federal Reserve didn't do it, Jacob did. So you don't add in Fed action. If I asked what is the amount changed in demand deposits, then I would add in Jacob's and it would be 50 because Jacob deposited 10. All right. So if it's a person, you don't add it in from new loans to money supply.
Wait. To get to 50, did you just do 10 times 5?
No, I did it the long way. I did 10.
Well, could you just do 10 times 5?
No. Don't do that. Okay? We're just playing around with these still. All right? Different questions. No. So he added 10, right? So excess reserves went up by 8. Okay? So I did 8 times 5 to give me 40. So that's the amount of new loans throughout the whole system that can be created. All right? To find the max change in demand deposits, you take all of this because all of those would be demand deposits, and then the original change in demand deposits and get 50.
Oh, because like you mean demand deposits, like if they loaned it out and then
Yeah, somebody kept loaning it out and putting it in the bank, loaning it out and putting it in the bank. All right. Are we okay with that? Does that make sense? Kind of?
yes.
All right, we'll look at it more here in a minute. We'll come back. Let it marinate for a little bit. All right. So, real quick, calm back down. Calm back down. The central bank purchased bonds. What does that do on the money market graph? Buy bonds, big bucks. So it increases the supply of money, making interest rates go down. Interest rates would decrease. All right, buy bonds, big bucks. So supply of money increases.
Yeah.
All right, no, we're not even to the question yet. All right, so buy bonds, big bucks, supply of money decreases. All right. So, E, what will happen to the price of bonds as a result of this purchase? Interest rates go down, so price of bonds goes up. They're inverse. Okay? Just remember that. Okay? Price of bonds goes down, so, or interest rates go down, so price of bonds goes up. Yes, money market has nominal.
Is that the only one?
Yeah, it's the only one with nominal.
Yes. Yeah.
All righty. That is so cheesy.
Up and down like the eye.
It does work. Where's mine? Oh, there.
Is it okay if I run by Miss Bell's really quick to pick up our book that we're reading?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is a loanable and funds graph.
Here, use that as a
Just a second. All right. So on the stream, I'm going to play a video so that I can take a break from yelling at y'all. All right, so that's playing there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so if I want to buy something
We push nominal interest rate down to price down. The nominal interest rate decreases, so price of bonds decreases. No, I'm pointing at this video too. We have a. Please put it on there real quick. Yeah.
Because as demanders of loans at high interest rates, it costs us money to borrow funds. That is the real interest rate. So at higher interest rates, we don't want to borrow as much, and at lower interest rates, we're more willing to borrow because the price is going down, just like any other market. Right? And like any other market, these banks are profit-seeking entities, and so when interest rates are low, they're not making as much money per loan. They don't supply as many, and as interest rates climb, they are more willing to supply loans in each and every market. Now, demanders of banks of loans are those that want to borrow money for different items. So we'll look at some examples in a minute. But again, those groups include households, businesses, the government, the rest of the world. All right, the supplier of loans. All right, this is all through the banking system. Okay, so anytime you save money, banks have the ability to loan that money out. All right, minus required reserves. All right, and again, so if anybody that saves money will impact the supply of loan. Who's that? Well, again, it's households, businesses, the government, and the rest of the world. Let's look at some examples of how they do this. Let's look at each category here. Households. When households save money, it's simply called saving money. All right, and again, savings will impact the supply of loanable funds. All right, when households demand more loanable funds, it is known as borrowing. All right, we have to borrow money to make certain purchases. All right, borrowing. All right, so for example, say, Snow White here needs to buy a new jet because what princess doesn't need a new jet? She would have to borrow money from the bank to do so. So that would increase the demand for loanable funds.
No, I get it. I get it.
Next, we have businesses. When businesses save money, it is known as retained earnings. Right, they are taking their profits and saving them. Right. When businesses demand more loans, it is known as capital investment.
So
They
you
are
just like
taking
take pre-recorded
out loans
videos and you can
and
add it to
increasing
So, like,
I can play them.
investment into their company. This could be the building of machinery, building of factories. That would be demand. Right. The government,
Like it's telling me right now.
right?
Yeah.
The government, yes, can save money. It is known as a surplus. Right. And it does happen from time to time. And
Alright,
every now and then,
just so
the
you know-
government will also demand
All right,
loans
quiet down.
to pay
quiet
off its deficit.
We're gonna go over multiple
Right.
funds,
A deficit
money
is
market,
when the government
foreign
spends
exchange.
more
We're
than
gonna
it
look at
takes
our
in
three
taxes,
supply and
and
demand
surplus is
graph.
when they take
Okay.
in more than they
We'll talk
spend.
about each of those, what
Right.
affects them,
So,
what changes
another
them, what do they
quick
show
example.
when they move.
Here we have
Okay.
that girl,
Then
the
we're
queen
gonna talk about
of
GDP
Nerdtopia.
and unemployment
She
and
is
inflation.
announcing that her government for the 14th straight year
And
is
then
in
from there, we'll
government
jump into
surplus. They
supply,
have extra money,
All right, and the
Uh,
Phillips curve.
and so
Okay,
they
is there
would
anything?
increase the
We'll talk
supply
about multipliers when we talk
of
about
local
GDP
funds
as well.
to that surplus
Change
of funds. Now, surpluses aren't always a good thing.
Right.
We'll talk about that in a
What
different
else
graph.
do we need to talk about?
Right. The rest of the world. Right. They can impact supply in two ways, both positive and negative, just like all these others can. When it is a positive, it is called capital inflow.
Can you,
There is more money coming in.
could you go over?
Right. And when it is a negative impact, it is known as capital outflow. They are taking money out of our system and sending it to somewhere else. Right. And foreigners can also borrow money
Or maybe could you talk about
from our
like,
banks
the
as well.
thought process
That would
for each
impact
graph and how like
demand.
each graph relates to
Of
each
the
other?
local funds market. Real quickly again, on the graph. You have R for real interest rates. Quantity of local funds are your price and quantity. You have supply, which is impacted by savings. And you have demand, which is impacted by borrowing. And when they intersect, it's the real interest rate and quantity of local funds. And just like on any supply and demand market, a change in demand or change in supply.
So your
adjust
mic is off, right?
both the real interest rate
They
and
can't hear us right now, they
quantity
just hear
of
that.
local funds. And there are all your items that can impact both the supply and demand
Yeah, but they might watch later.
actors on the local funds market. Septic tank failures.
You think they want to watch?
Where's my Google Hey? There it is. Screen sharing. Stop. All right. That off me. Watch myself. Okay.
What is that
So
called?
you can divide by.
That you're on, so I can look it up and watch it.
If you go to here, I'll tweet it out. Kindle. There'll actually be a whole playlist of videos attached to it. I'll tweet the loanable funds one, but there's all kind of in a playlist. There's other ones as well.
If they're unemployed,
All right, so let's talk our three supply and demand graphs. We're going to look at loanable funds first, money market, Forex. All right, on loanable funds. All right, what is it a market showing? It's the showing the market for loans. All right, so who are the consumers of loans? Am I making this up? No. No, we're just talking in general. All right, businesses like loans. All right, guys, quiet down. All right, when do businesses like loans? When they're buying things, okay? Whether it be capital, buildings, whatever, that's the investment demand curve. It's IG. Okay, so businesses borrow money. Who else borrows money? People, you and me. Okay, if you went and bought breakfast this morning on a credit card, you borrowed money. Okay, right? You don't pay the interest until the end of the month, and you don't pay the bill back. So pay your bills off. All right. You could also borrow money to buy like a refrigerator. I did that earlier. Or stoves, cars, houses, college. All right, those type of things. All right. So who else borrows money?
Businesses.
We did that already.
Sorry.
Government. When does the government borrow funds? Always. Yeah. What kind of budget are they running? Deficit. All right. Boo. Okay. And then foreigners can borrow funds as well. It's called direct foreign borrowing. It's just there. All right. So, who supplies loans? Banks. All right. Where do banks get their supply of loans from?
People's money.
Businesses, us, the government, foreigners. Okay. It's savings. All right. So, savings is supply. Okay. They can't give out loans unless people have saved money. All right. So, because loans are over time, we have to adjust for inflation. So it is real interest rates and the quantity of loanable funds. All right. Real interest rates, quantity of loanable funds. All right. Demand is downward sloping. Why?
Higher interest rate,
What's the cost of borrowing?
interest rate.
Interest rates. We don't like high interest rates because it costs us money. Okay, so, all right, that's a different graph. All right, don't go there yet. All right, now, banks, are they for-profit entities? Yes. All right, banks aren't open just because. All right, they're a business, they like to make money. All right, which means that as interest rates go up, the supply of loanable funds increases. Okay? So, that's our graph. Yep. Okay. So, what controls demand? Borrowing. All right? Demand of loanable funds is borrowing. And I don't care who it is. Okay? So, consumers, we just borrow money. All right? Businesses, it's called capital investment. That's IG. That's the investment demand curve. All right? Government borrowing is on a budget deficit. So if they are increasing a deficit, they're going to demand more or less. More. Because the more in debt they go, the more they have to borrow. All right? If the deficit spending is decreasing. No. Just talking demand. If demand would decrease. Okay? All right? If a decrease in deficit spending, we would demand less loans. All right? All right, those are the biggies. All right, so supply of loanable funds is savings. All right. As a consumer, we just save money. Okay. Businesses can save money by retained earnings. All right. If they have more or less retained earnings, they're going to supply more or less money to the market to be saved. All right. And then the government, they save money when they have a surplus. Welcome to the 1990s. Okay. Yeah, we hit 3 years in the last 20. 1.5% of the time. All right. All right. So, this graph will be on the test in multiple choice form and probably FRQ form. Okay, so know how to draw it. Okay, know what shifts it. All right, a few little things. You can shift the curves in a couple options. All right, and it still be correct because it depends on how you're looking at the question. If it says, how does the following scenario affect the demand, you have to shift demand. If they just say, how does the following scenario affect the loanable funds market, you have a couple options sometimes. All right, if it says there is a decrease in budget deficit, and how does it affect the market? Option 1, decreased demand is option 1. Option 2 would be increased supply. Because now if they're decreasing their budget deficit, they have some money to save. All right, or they're not borrowing as less, so they have some supply would go up. Either way, what happens to the real interest rate?
It goes up,
Down.
Just like,
Yes.
I'm gonna just say stuff.
If there's a decrease in budget deficit, you can see it as a decrease in demand or an increase in supply. and both are correct. All right, but if they tell you what line to move that line. The other option is not correct. They will not, even if it is a correct option, it's not correct. Okay? So always read the question. Somebody said an increase in real interest rates. That would decrease interest rates. All right. So are we good with that graph? All right, let's look at money market. I know. I've gotten this habit this morning. All right, money market. You have nominal interest rates and quantity of money. All right. This is showing what does this market show? The money market. What does it show?
The amount the Federal Reserve gives has and demand for money.
It's the market for money, I guess would be the best way to put it. I'm trying to think of the right term. What did we put on our notes? I forget what we put on our notes. No, currency is Forex. What would you say what it was? Money market. Oh my God. All right. The idea of our preference for holding M1 combined with the amount of M1. Oh yeah, okay. It's our demand for money. All right.
That's what it says.
Well, society. Remember, we're macro. We talk everybody. When we say R, we're talking society. All right. Yeah, we're getting to Forex. Don't worry. And then Jacob can, or Zach can do his pirate voice. All right. So, demand of money is downward sloping. Why?
Because interest rates decrease, quantity demand increases.
Okay, real quick.
It's the same thing as
All right. No, it's not. All right. Demand is downward sloping. Here's why. This is M1 money. It's cash or demand deposits. Okay? All right. If interest rates are low,
No one wants
you don't want to put it in the bank because
You don't get
you're not getting anything back for it, so you demand money. You'll demand more money to hold on to.
Yes.
At higher interest rates,
You put more
it's more of an incentive to save, so I take it off of this, so there's less quantity of money.
Yes.
No, but it might be within a multiple choice question. All right, supply of money is vertical.
Yes. The Federal Reserve.
Who controls it? Federal Reserve. Do they care about profits on loans?
No.
No. All right. They only care about how much money's on the market. Okay, so the Federal Reserve controls the supply of money. Right, you can only move it if it's the Federal Reserve. All right, Federal Reserve has three tools.
Buy bonds or bonds.
Open market operations, which is buying or selling bonds.
Discount rate.
Discount rate, which is what?
The interest rate on
Overnight loans.
Interest rate on overnight loans.
And required reserve.
And then the required reserve ratio. Which one do they use the most often?
Bonds.
Buying and selling bonds, because it's the most effective. All right, one's too effective and the other one's not effective at all. All right. Okay. So, if I change this graph, what changes that we care about?
The supply.
Interest rates.
I don't know.
All right. Same thing on loanable funds. Okay. If I change loanable funds or the money market in any way, an interest rate changes. Okay. That interest rate will change spending because we respond to interest rates. All right. Because interest rates are the cost of borrowing. So if interest rates are going down, will business and consumer spending decrease or increase? Increase. Interest rates go down, spending goes up. Okay? If interest rates increase, spending will go down. Now, business spending is called investment. Okay? So don't be confused when you see how does a change in interest rates impact investment if it's talking domestic markets. Right? Investment on domestic is spending, and I just rhymed and threw myself off. That was really weird. I was like, whoa, that was weird. Yep. Okay. So are we good there?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk foreign exchange because it's our favorite.
That's my favorite.
It is your favorite.
It is. I just don't like it. What? It makes more sense. Oh, wait.
We're going to do some of those. We're going to look at. So if you change it interest rate, you would change IG or business spending, which would therefore change aggregate demand and GDP and price level. Yeah. Okay. Foreign exchange. All right. You have a price of some currency for America, so dollars. Quantity of some currency of the same currency. Okay. Are we good? Right. This is the market for currency on a foreign market. Okay. So you're literally buying and selling currency. Okay. So I would, if I need to buy something from Canada, okay, I have to have Canada currency. That doesn't really work because they're both dollars. All right, let's do Europe. Okay, we want some good fancy French cheese. All right, so if I want to buy some good fancy French cheese, all right, I have to pay for it in euros. So I have to buy euros with my dollars. I do that on the Forex market. Okay, so what kind of things would impact our willingness to buy or currency? Okay, interest rates. All right, now when we talk investment on the Forex market, we're talking private investment. Okay, or you can look at it as financial capital. All right, either way, you're talking about I like interest rates because I can get money back. Okay, so don't get confused. All right. If it's domestic, we don't like interest rates. If it's foreign, we do. Okay? So, interest rates will impact the graph. What else? Price level and inflation. We buy stuff from where it's cheaper, right? The price level goes down, we'll buy more fancy cheese. Price level goes up, we buy less.
Our taste
Okay.
for their cheese.
Our taste for their cheese. We just like buying cheese. Okay? Or they come up with something fancier than fancy. I don't know what that would be. Yes. And then bells are still on. Why are the bells still on? They're testing
They
today.
were on yesterday.
Yeah, they're going to be off this afternoon or I'm going to throw a fit.
It's so second test, Mr. Marks.
So we did interest rates, price level, expectation, or taste. What was the last one?
I don't remember.
Oh, GDP, consumer confidence GDP. If a country's GDP is going up, they spend more. They buy more domestic and foreign goods. Okay? So, yes.
Cecily Martinez is wanted in the office. Cecily Martinez.
Okay. All right, so we have our Forex market.
Yes.
Okay? We can change this market in lots of ways. All right, for anything, we can look at it from our point of view as Americans, which we would then change what? Supply. All right, as Americans, we control the supply of dollars on the market. We can look at it from a foreign point of view, which would then we change demand. Okay, and in reality, how many markets are really moving at the same time? Two, because we need to look at the euro market going on if we're buying fancy cheese, because we have to pay for it in euros. Okay, so you really have two markets moving at once. All right, but they're only going to ask you to draw one. What's happening in the dollar market? Show how this would change, and they're probably going to tell you what line to move. Okay, so let's say that so that we can talk balance of payments. All right. The real interest rate in France has increased. All right. Let's talk about how we can change this a couple different ways. All right. First off, where would we want to invest with higher interest rates in France? France. Okay. So as Americans, what currency do we need more of now? Euros. So the demand of euros would increase and supply of dollars would increase. Why would so I'm going to go to the French market or the Forex market. I'm going to take my American dollars and I'm going to leave them there and take euros off. The Forex market now has more dollars. If they don't tell you, whichever way is easier. I do too. I would move to Japan. All right, because if interest rates are higher in France, that means they're lower in the United States. So what happens to the demand for U.S. dollars? It decreases, right? Why? Okay. Whoa. One voice.
This is demand on like between two countries. If interest rates go up in one country, then you're gonna want to invest there because you can make more.
Okay, so I would invent. So French people would invest in France rather than in the United States, so they demand less dollars because they're investing at home. Okay, are we good? Does that make sense? Now, so we're supplying less dollars, right? Is that what we said? No, more dollars. Supplying more dollars. Yeah. All right, so as Americans, we're demanding more euros, supplying more dollars. What happens to the exchange rate for the dollar? It depreciates, okay? A depreciating dollar does what to exports? Increases, because now it's cheaper to buy our currency and therefore cheaper to buy our goods. Okay? Now, on balance of payments, okay, two things are happening at the same time with this. All right? On the balance of payments, because we are going to be investing more in France, our balance of payments will have a decrease or deficit on the capital account because we're taking our dollars and sending them to France. Okay, so France is getting a surplus, it means ours are going down. Because of the change in the value of the dollar, our exports go up, so our current account would therefore be in a surplus, right? And France's would be in deficit. Okay, does that kind of make sense? So follow the money. All right, capital account is investments. So there will be an increase where there's higher interest rates on the capital account of the balance of payments. All right, there will be an increase in the current account where there's more exports because it's exports and imports. It's actual cash flowing in and out. Okay, that capital account is tied to interest rates. Exports and importing is current account. All right, what else? Jacob, does that answer your question on balance payments? Yeah. Okay. All right. So are we good there? Okay. So by changing the exchange rate, I change exports, which therefore changes aggregate demand as well. Okay. Net exports is exports minus imports. It's foreign spending. It's part of spending and aggregate demand. Yes.
Hey, look at 21.
All right, 21. Looking at 21. 21. Suppose that country A is experiencing high inflation relative to country B. What? All right. Country A has high inflation relative to country B. So where are you buying your goods from? B. A has high inflation relative to B. A has higher inflation. Higher price level. Okay. So, which is enjoying steady growth at a stable price level? All right. Which of the following would occur on the foreign exchange markets? So, where are you going to buy your goods? Country B. All right. So, country B's currency, the demand for B's currency would increase. So, supply for A would increase. All right. You could also look at it as, are you demanding more or less of A's currency if you're in B? You're going to demand less of B, so you would supply less of. So 21 is E. Country A's currency is going to depreciate. All right. Higher price levels mean less purchasing there. You don't need their currency, less demand of their currency. It's an easy way to get to that. Okay. Is there another Forex question? Y'all have looked at them more than I have. Hunter, you have one? Anything? You good, that one? Jacob, you good? Angel, what number? We're going to get there. We're about to jump to that. Okay. I'm going to buy with higher prices in A. I'm going to buy in B. So there's going to be less demand for A's currency, so it would depreciate. Or you could look at it, if you're country A, I'm going to demand more of B's currency, so I'm going to supply more of my currency. So I'm demanding more of B currency, so that means opposite line, same direction, supply would go up as well, so it would still depreciate. Either way, depends on how you want to look at it.
So if you say, however you change interest rates, how would that affect employment? That's a question.
Okay. That's connected to aggregate supply or demand. So if I increase interest rates, investment spending would go down, so all spending goes down. GDP goes down, so unemployment would go up.
Do we, on the test, do we want to, even if we don't know, do we want to circle the answer?
Yeah. All right. Because net exports would decrease. Yes. So if the value of a dollar increases, net exports decrease, therefore aggregate demand decreases as well. All right. This Hunter. 40? All right, let's look at number 40. Okay, yeah, 40. All right, this one deals with money supply and money multiplier. All right. So since we've kind of talked about loanable funds and money market all at the same time here, if the central bank raises the required reserve ratio, all right, the money multiplier and the supply of money will change in which of the following ways. All right. On the money market graph, the Federal Reserve controls the supply of money, right? Okay. So if I'm increasing the required reserve ratio, do banks have more or less money to loan out? Less. So the supply of money decreases. So on supply of money, you can eliminate now A, C, and D. All right, so now we just need to know what happens to the money multiplier. All right, money multiplier is 1 over the required reserve ratio. Okay, so if it was 20%, 1 over 0.2 is 5. All right, now it's 10%, or no, 30, it increased, right? Let's jump to 50% because I can do that math in my head. 1 over 0.5 would be 2. So the money multiplier decreased. So it'd be E. Supply decreased because the bank has to hold on to more money, so there's not as much to loan out.
What happens to money supply again? 30.
Decreases. Higher required reserve ratio means banks have to hold on to more, so excess reserves go down. All right,
Yeah, 39.
just a second, just a second.
Second supply nice and so much.
All right, 39. Okay. That we're gonna 39. We'll come back to. All right. Any other questions on loanable funds, money market, or foreign exchange?
So, if you increase interest rates, then that increases demand. Like you would just increase demand.
If you increased interest rates, business spending would go down, so an aggregate demand would go down.
To be.
To B.
Yeah. Because if Canadian interest rates go up.
Oh, you talked forex. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were talking aggregate demand.
No, yeah. Canadian interest rates go
so-
up, that means demand goes up.
Yes.
Okay, I was making sure.
All right. Let's move on to GDP, and all the fun that goes with that. Okay. So GDP is a measure of what?
Unemployment.
It's gross domestic product. Good job. What is it measuring? Production. Measures production. Okay. We measure production by measuring the sale of final goods produced within a market within a year. Okay. So we measure all of the spending on consumer goods that were bought of final goods. We measure businesses buying final goods in terms of investment. We measure government spending on final goods and foreign spending on final goods through exports and imports. Okay. What do we take out of GDP? Imports. You subtract out imports. All right. So if you're looking at GDP, it's C plus I plus G plus XN. Okay. It's a measure of production. All right. Do we count used goods? No, because they were counted the first time they were made. Do we count intermediate goods? No. All right. Intermediate goods are counted in the final production cost, not in the middle. All right. Anything else? Any other tricks? Stocks and bonds. Do we count stocks and bonds? No, because is anything produced? No, it's an investment. And then government transfer payments. I just write you a check because you're unemployed. No, it increases aggregate demand, but it does not increase GDP immediately because there is nothing produced. Yes, so like a tire to produce a car. Now, if I bought a tire from Discount Tire down the road, that's a final good. But if Goodyear or Ford buys a tire to put on the car, it's an intermediate good. So it depends on who's buying it. All right. So, okay.
Sticky wages.
Yeah, that has to do with aggregate supply and demand.
Total spending.
Aggregates total. All right, real quick. All right, while we're talking GDP, real GDP, we adjust for inflation. All right, so nominal GDP is current production with current prices. All right, real GDP is current production at an adjusted value. Right? So you have to adjust for inflation. the way that College Board likes to ask this question is they'll give you a chart. You know, country X can produce at such and such levels. They can make these 3 goods and so many of them. These are the prices for 2009, which might be your base year, 2010, and 2011, right? To find nominal GDP for 2011, you would use 2011 production and 2011 prices, okay? And that would be your final sale of all goods produced within that year in that market using that year's dollar. Okay, if they ask what is the real GDP for 2011, you use 2011's production, but at 2009, your base year prices. If define real GDP for 2011. We did, I think it's 2010 had an example of that, or 2009, or 2011. That one right there, I see it. Come here. 2011 Form B. All right. I mean, it's just what I just said. So. Yes, it is. They're on my wall. All right. So, that is nominal versus real. Okay. 100. 36. D.
What is it? Did you say E or D?
We will.
Did you say,
I have it circled.
Did you say E or D?
Yeah. D. 36 is D. All right. Real versus unemployment and inflation. All right. To find unemployment, it is the number of people unemployed divided by labor force, not population. All right. They like to give you population to see if you'll fall for it. It is not population. Labor force is unemployed plus employed. Okay. To be considered unemployed, you have to be seeking a job. To be considered employed, you have to have worked at least 1 hour in the last 2 weeks, either part-time or full-time. We don't care. Okay. So on the 2014 practice exam, look at FRQ number 3. All right. All right. So the first thing it asks you to do is to find the unemployment rates. All right. It gives you all kind of data. Number 3. Okay. So we have the population being 1,000, employed 720, not working but seeking employment 80, not working and not seeking employment 200. All right, let's classify these people. Total population is what it is. All right. Employed means they have a job. We don't care if it's full or part-time. They have a job. To be unemployed, you just don't have a job. Whether it's frictional unemployment, structural, or cyclical, it's unemployment. Okay, frictional unemployment is still unemployment. Okay, all right. The 80 people that are not working but looking for a job, that's unemployed. All right. The 200 people not working and not seeking, they don't count. Okay. They're known as discouraged workers. They don't count in the unemployment rate. All right. So to find unemployment, we're going to take that 80, the unemployed, and divide it by the labor force, which is the employed plus the 80. Okay, so it's 80 divided by 800, which is what? 10%. It's 0.1, 1 over 10, 10%. All right, again, don't let easy math beat you. the employed plus the number of people not working but looking for a job. All right, second clue, real quick, second clue to finding unemployment. You can do it in your head because you don't have a calculator. All right, so if you're trying to divide 80 into 720, that's not going to come out a very clean number. So you screwed up. Is it 9?
It is
Oh.
9. That's what I did.
No, it's 80 over 720? No, it's 9%?
That's 9.
No, it's not. 720 divided by 80 is 9, but not 80 divided by 720.
Oh, yeah, it
You
is.
really screwed that up. All right, now we know what the number is. All right, so part B. All right, so now we're going to talk a little loanable funds, so we're going to kind of jump over the place. All right, part B. Assume that the natural rate of unemployment for country X is 6%. Okay? We know that the unemployment rate is what? 10%. So are we above or below the natural rate of unemployment? Above. Unemployment is 10. The natural rate is 6. 10 is larger than 6, so that's above. Okay. All right. So draw a single correctly labeled graph and show both the short and long run Phillips curve. All right. On the Phillips curve, you have unemployment and inflation, right? Labeled as such, right? Yes. I'm going to say yes. All right. Your short run Phillips curve shows that at high rates of unemployment, you have low inflation. At low rates of inflation, you have high unemployment because they're inversely related in the short run. Okay? We're doing number 3. Okay. All right. Then you got to draw a long run Phillips curve. Right? The long run Phillips curve is where we show the natural rate of unemployment. That says that in the long run, the economy will stabilize itself and be at this unemployment rate. Right? It tells us the natural rate of unemployment is 6%. Okay? So we got that.
That's also YF, right?
On aggregate supply, aggregate demand, yes, it's Y.
Just do 1 and 2 so the Y's.
No, it tells you to do Y's. All right, so are we all good so far with what the graph is telling us to draw? All right, BII, or B2I, or however you want to say that, using the unemployment rate we calculated in A, which was 10%, and assuming an actual inflation rate of 2%, show that on the graph. All right, so if we have 6 and we need to show 10, we're going to be over here. Okay?
Just draw a dot.
Yeah, I'd show a dot. It says label it as Z. So label it as Z. And then you have to do your dotted lines, and we have 10% unemployment. And it tells you the inflation rate is 2%. So you have this. Make sense?
Show me again.
I forgot y'all were back there. Yell at me.
37.
Are we good?
Yeah.
It's a Z. I can't draw Z's very well. All right. So it says that's part B. Easy peasy, right? Okay. For number 3, part B, yeah. All right. Part C says, in the absence of any policy.
So
Stop. No questions. In the absence of any policy, what type of economics is that? No, Cajun,
Oh,
not in Louisiana. Is that like a classical Keynesian combo? It's the natural rate of unemployment.
like
All right, no policy action. Is that Keynesian or classical economics? It's classical economics. In the long run, it all fixes itself. All right, so if it says there is no policy action, right, and in the long run, or even in the short run, how does this impact aggregate supply? Right? We know we're going to be looking at our current price level in relation to where our equilibrium price level would be, right? And knowing that input cost and price level are immediately adjustable because that's what classical economics says, right? And so if we are below the price level, we'll increase supply because now it's cheaper to produce. If we're above the price level, we'll decrease supply, which my hands are backwards, y'all, I'm sorry. Then that is now it's more expensive to produce. Does that make sense? No. Not at all. Okay. Let me draw it.
I know.
Stop. I don't care what you need. We're gonna
No,
walk
no,
through
I
it.
mean, I know. I'm just saying that I don't understand.
If I added all the stuff, I don't know. I can listen to this.
What?
Is there food in that bag?
I don't think so.
I want to take that chance.
All right. So, would we agree that these two graphs match? No, it's unemployment, not inflation. Okay, so these two graphs match, right? We have high unemployment here, so we have low production
Yes.
here. Okay, so in long run equilibrium on aggregate supply, aggregate demand, this would be our price level, right?
Yes.
That would be where, if we were at equilibrium, that's where the price level would be. Okay? This is where we are.
Yes.
Yes? Alyssa, you look very confused all of a sudden. All right? So, is our price level above, below, or equal to the long run equilibrium price level?
Below.
Below. Okay? So, if input costs are directly tied to price level, and our price level is below, are we going to produce more or less?
It costs less to produce.
It costs less to produce because input costs have gone down because our price level, all right? So am I going to produce more or less? More. So aggregate supply would shift to the right. So on C, in the absence of any policy, so we're doing classical economics, we have a depreciated price level. The short run aggregate supply for country X would increase.
What's the abbreviation? Is there one?
No, it's input
Okay,
cost.
I got it. Wait, I got it up until the very last thing that you just said.
Okay, so this is our price level if we were at full employment, full production. This is where we are. It is cheaper to produce, so I'm going to produce more
So you're going to increase aggregate supply.
because aggregate supply is a measure of production. Taya, what was your question?
And then how do
No, what was your question?
Wait,
Okay.
so then how do you explain that?
How do you explain that?
Lower input cost.
All right, how do you explain it? Price level and input cost are directly related according to classical economics. Input cost and price level directly related. So with a depreciated price level, cheaper to produce, increased production in aggregate supply. That would be a longer explanation.
Could I just write this?
You'd be tied to input cost, yes. You have to tie it to input cost.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, the increasing production.
Okay.
Aggregate supply, not GDP. No, increase. The price of production decreases, so aggregate supply increases. In classical economics, yes. Yeah, if it's Keynesian economics, you have sticky wages, which means that prices can't go down. Once you get a raise, I'm not willing to work for less, so you can't lower my wage. If it says no policy action in the long run, things like that.
And so if it gives you, like, just always assume that it's.
I would assume it's Keynesian unless they tell you otherwise.
And then if they do tell you otherwise, you have to take on that.
Yeah.
Thought
Yes.
process.
Classical. That's it. There was the rational expectation, and I'm not talking about that. Okay, Jessica, what's your question? That's Keynesian. Yeah. Keynesian economics is monetary and physical policy. Expansionary and contractionary are types of physical and types of contractionary policy. You know this. Don't freak out on me. You know this. Stop. If you need to go sit in a corner and ignore me, do so.
So had we said,
Go sit over there and ignore me. Yeah.
I have a question. So have we said it was Keynesian, then we would do an expansionary policy because.
And that would have shifted aggregate demand.
Yes. So that was right.
Yep. All right. Anything else?
There's another part of
D. If the unemployment rate. Okay, so now we've shifted aggregate supply in C, right? They're saying that the unemployment rate is now 6%. All right. Is there any cyclical unemployment? No, because what is the natural rate of unemployment? 6. So if your natural rate of unemployment and your unemployment are the same, there is no cyclical unemployment. Yeah. Yes. So this talks about types of unemployment. Cyclical unemployment, tied to when you have a recession. Okay. All right. Frictional unemployment, in between jobs, voluntary. Okay. I quit to go find another job. All right. Don't do that. Have another job lined up before you quit. Okay. But we do accept it because it means that there is mobility within the economy, and it's okay. All right. Structural unemployment. Structural unemployment
That means like a type
is
of
unemployment due to the fact that
computer.
technology. They replaced me with a robot. All right, or they're piping in an economics teacher from somewhere else. What I'm doing to somebody else right now.
They said, "Here, watch this."
Yeah, watch this guy. He's talking.
Yeah.
No. I said I'm doing it to somebody else. We're broadcasting, like we're viewing one other person.
Oh, my bad. I'm
Oh no, two. There's 2 other people.
Maybe they're teachers though, and then the whole class is watching it.
I think you just did. All right.
But
So right.
if wages are sticky,
if you're talking about sticky wages, it's the idea that it's called the ratchet effect. It's Keynesian economics. Keynes says that once wages go up, you can't ratchet them back down.
yeah,
It's insane. So
if I do,
the only thing you can't adjust aggregate supply by adjusting price, like accordance to price.
so if I'm here
Uh-huh.
and I do this,
Yeah,
do I do?
Videos he was tweeting out last night. I was like,
How do I
watch this, but-
show the prices are sticky? Will it come back here, like over here?
Yeah, that'd be one way to do it. Are you
But
looking
would
at number 39?
Wouldn't that increase the price level though?
Yeah.
Oh, so it increases the price level.
Are you looking at this one?
Not exactly. I'm just trying to think, like generally,
Yeah, it would.
like
Well,
there was
sticky-
another one.
so wages are just one type of part of spending. So if we get up here, Keynes says that we can take your money away and lay people, and part of that would be you would decrease production. So some people would lose their job because when you're up in this zone, in the inflationary zone, you have too much production.
Yeah.
So you would
So you come
decrease
back.
production.
So you come back over there.
Yeah, you would decrease. No, you would decrease production.
Oh, so you're bringing the aggregate demand back.
You're bringing aggregate demand.
Okay.
Keynes says that aggregate demand is your adjustment, not aggregate
So-
supply. The only time aggregate supply would shift under Keynes is if there was a change in the amount of resources.
So if I do this,
Keynes
this
says
line will not move unless there's an increase in production. Okay.
Did you see the finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
no, I'm like 2 weeks behind. Yes, we're going to. All right. So we've kind of jumped around a lot. So I want to look at number 39, and then I'm going to turn the feed off. So you got me for 10 more minutes on the computer, and then I'm just going to walk around and answer your questions, so I don't have to yell. Look at 39. Yeah. I'm getting tired of yelling, and I'm hungry. All right. Number 39. Guys, last question, and then we're going to be good, okay? So, number 39 on the practice test. It has all kind of lines on that thing moving around, okay? According to the graph above, and starting with equilibrium point R. So, to be at R, you have to be on 81 and SRAS 1, okay? Which of the following shifts identifies the short and long run impact of demand pull inflation? Okay, so you have demand pull inflation. All right. So demand pull inflation is inflation due to too much spending. So short run impact, what changes? Aggregate demand. That's what causes it. All right, so you should move to M. All right. The only way to cause demand pull inflation is for demand to have shifted. All right, so you move from R to M. All right, now, real quick, to move from M to anything else, we're going to look at long run, which now cues in classical economics. All right, so now we have a price level higher than the equilibrium price level. So what happens to production? Because input costs are tied to price level, you now have an inflated price level, so you have inflated production cost. So production would decrease, and so you go from M to N. All right. So all right. Let's follow it. Okay. You started at R. Short run is R to M. Okay. In the long run, you would actually move from R to N.
Wait, are you saying
B. The answer is B.
okay?
Okay. You would go from R to M, as in Molden, and then long run, it would shift to N from R to N, as in Nancy. All right? As in you are going to pass this test. All right? Okay. So, with that, look through those questions, work through them. I'm going to walk around and answer questions, all right, as you have them. Be much more targeted. If you have questions for each other, you can ask each other questions as well. And if nobody at the table can agree, then you can ask me. But I'm looking at every table, and there's somebody on every table that knows what they're doing. All right? So I'm saying goodbye to the feed. And good luck on the